Well, today we're going to start cleaning up this Infinity CR Plus airbrush because we are full of blue acrylic paint. So what are we going to need to do? Well, there are some supplies we are going to need. Those being... So we're going to need some cotton buds or Q-tips. I prefer to get the wooden ones, just because it's not plastic basically. So any Q-tip will do. Some airbrush cleaner, you don't have to get this stuff, but any stuff that you can find, as long as it's for acrylics, and it's acrylics that are causing your airbrush to be in need of cleaning. There's this stuff, there's a whole range of things you could use really. You can use like acetone based stuff, but you need to be careful of your airbrush, because if your airbrush has rubber seals or anything which isn't PTFE plastic, then you do run the risk of destroying your seals. So it is safer to use this sort of stuff. If your airbrush is clogged with enamels, then you don't want to use this. You don't want to use anything that's water based, but you will want to use a white spirit, and in that case anything that's... You don't want to use your artist grade white spirit to clean your airbrush. You want to use just any hardware store white spirit should do. Next thing we're going to need are pipe cleaners. You may see, especially if you're new to, or your airbrush is fairly new, you'll get those little brush things, a little metal rod, and then a crappy little brush. Throw them away, they're rubbish. The amount of people, even myself included when I first started, that have managed to get the brush stuck somewhere in the front end of your airbrush, and then it snapped and broke. Yeah, just don't use them. Throw them out. Never use them. What you want is smoking grade pipe cleaners, and what I mean by that is don't just go to Amazon and buy the first bag of pipe cleaners you'll see, because they're generally going to be hobby grade, and as soon as you do this you're just going to get a load of fibres, and it's just a recipe to clog up your airbrush even further. So get proper pipe cleaners from a tobacconist's. I like the gradiated ones. So we have the thin end on one side and then the thicker bushier end on the other. Because on the thin side you can get into obviously all the nice little areas, and the thicker end is just a bit more material which you can use to, clean the outside or whatever. So gradiated ones are good. If not, just go for thin ones, because the thin side is more important than the thick side. You may, however, when you start off, get one of these things, a needle reamer. Now we need to be very careful with your needle reamer. So if you take a look at my needle reamer, we'll see that mine's got a bit of a kink in the end. That's just because I was stupid and dropped it and used it for things it shouldn't be used for. But the core thing about a needle reamer is when we take all the paint off it, because I had to use it to open up the orifice of a dropper ball. Again, misuse of a tool. You'll see there is a flat end on it, just there. What this is for is to go inside your nozzle. You don't want to start jabbing it in really, really hard, because what you'll do is you'll splay the end of your nozzle tip, and then you'll get uneven spray patterns, and you basically damaged your nozzle beyond repair. But the key thing to note is this is a good tool, and it will be imperative in cleaning our airbrush. We'll go into it shortly. So we'll need bamboo cotton buds, pipe cleaners, some actual airbrush cleaner, your nozzle needle reamer, and I've just got a couple of pipettes here, just so we can decant water if we need to, and get liquid out of the cup easy enough. These are 3mm graduated pipe cleaners, really handy. Okay, let's move the stuff out of the way, and we'll look at the disassembly. It's a fairly standard airbrush. We're going to take it down all the way that we need to. We didn't need to take the valve bit out, but we'll take all the bits which will need cleaning out. When your airbrush is fully clogged, one thing I never do is pull the needle back through. Doing so will pull any paint that's in there through the seals. Now you might be thinking, well, the seal's there to stop air going through, so surely it'll stop paint going through. In theory, you're right. However, the needle gets thinner towards the end, and that thinness will pull the paint back through. And then you're just going to have a harder time cleaning it. So I'm just going to off camera as well. Thing this so I can turn it. I'm just going to take the end assembly off. Stick that. These rarely need cleaning, if ever. So rather than pulling the needle back through, we are going to push it forward. In fact, before I do so, I'm going to get a bit of tissue paper. I'm going to fold it just into a square-ish shape, one side, just to stop paint going everywhere. And I'm just going to push it forward. Now the nozzle is stuck with dried paint. So much so that I can pull the needle out with it. Try and keep your airbrush pointed down. At this point, if you were to tip it the other way, all the paint will go up the top and into your mechanism, which you don't want. So as long as we keep it nose down, undo the back assembly. Again, none of this should need cleaned. Keep your spring, let it roll away. And this can come out. If this is clean, you're okay. If there's filth on the bottom of this part here, it means you've got muck inside your valve, which is in there, which you can just see. So we're okay, we don't need to worry about that. Again, keep it pointed down. We shouldn't need to take this area off the back. Again, all it is just a connect between the inside diameter of this and the inside of that. It's like a step down. Take this off carefully and stick it there. Right, at this point I want to take some Q-tips, spin it around, and just spin out any loose paint that's in there. Again, all we're doing is minimizing the risk of paint going back up the top, because then it's a bit more of a pain in the arse to clean. That will clean the paint out the front. It's just dripped through the hole. We are going to get messy, so if you want to wear nitrile gloves, you can do. However, as you can see by my thumbnails are covered in red paint, we might as well just add some blue paint to it. Okay. Now you could use an ultrasonic cleaner, but don't ever rely on your ultrasonic cleaner to clean your airbrush properly. The amount of people I've spoken to that just say, oh, I just disassemble it, throw all the bits in ultrasonic cleaner, and then that'll be fine. Put it back together again, and they'll be the first people to complain that they're having issues with uneven spraying, sputtering of paint, etc. If you're going to clean your airbrush, you need to clean it properly, or at least know how to. It's not too bad, it's quite cathartic, it's nice, and so it's just like what those people with guns like cleaning their guns. But now, because this is pretty dry now, we can put it on its side, not worry about it too much. I'm making sure it is still downwards, just a little bit. Let's take another bit of tissue, just to get the majority of this paint off here. Nozzles off. This is a 0.4 needle. And there's still a bit of paint on there, we're not going to worry about that just yet. I'll be able to see there's some blue on the end. but the majority of it is clean, so we will just put it to one side and we will remember that the tip is still dirty. While we've still got wet paint everywhere, we might as well just make sure there's no wet paint in here. Yeah, there's still a lot of filth in there, but it's pretty dry. Throw that away. Oh yeah, we're getting a load of paint growing now. So, the most important part of all this, well, the two most important parts I should say, are the graded part of the needle and where it goes, which is the nozzle. Now this nozzle is very filthy, and I will zoom in and show you. Because this had, the red is actually an ink, and I think there's a little bit of enamel probably in here as well, so it is very filthy. So the good thing about the Hardman Steenbeck nozzles is, and some of the other manufacturers as well also use a nozzle system similar to this, but I'm going to make this point now, so just bear with me. I have another airbrush to my side here. It's what you would class as like a starter airbrush we're talking about. An Iwata Neo. And this has enamels in it, just sitting there, chilling out, being filthy. Hello. If we take the top off this, we'll see there's an entirely different assembly for the nozzle. Now on the Sparmax and ones like this, you'll see that the nozzle is a lot smaller, and you need a little spanner to take it apart. These, even in the instructions it says don't take them off, but at some point you're going to have to. There's a little tiny rubber seal between these two bits here, which you need to be aware of. So when I'm recommending a beginner or an intermediate airbrush to somebody, the one thing I will take as like a deciding factor for me on a suggestion is making sure it's got an easily removable and wide apertured nozzle assembly, because these are a pain in the ass. It's the main reason why I don't bother using it really. Put that to one side, and I will take that nozzle off and show you the difference later. So here's our nozzle. Let's open our airbrush cleaner. We're not going to do the whole thing at the top, we're just going to take the top off, make it easier, because we're going to be wanting to put pipe cleaners etc down. So here's the beauty of these nozzles and a proper pipe cleaner. Rather than those stupid brushes which can get stuck and scratch inside, we've just dipped the pipe cleaner in the airbrush cleaner. I'm going to get another piece of tissue, because we're going to get some drippage. We're going to put that just there, pick the nozzle up, and then we're going to insert into the back of the nozzle, and then the paint, if there is any liquid in there, will come out the front. What I'm going to do now is just spin this around a few times, loosen any muck that's in there. Again, keeping it pointed down so any liquid can come out the bottom, if there is any. Let's have a look how we're getting on. You see, it goes down quite a way, but obviously it won't go all the way in, because it's not a needle size, which is where the needle reamer comes in. So I'm just going to keep doing this. One handy thing to do is just keep looking down the end. Keep looking for the daylight. Because daylight is not there, it means there is a clog in there. Let's grab our needle reamer, our nozzle reamer. Now, mine does have a kinked tip. I could probably fix that. It's just, I've got a bit of metal on the edge of my desk. Let me see if I can just straighten it a little. Good as new. So, like I said, the thing you need to be careful with here, you don't just stick it in and start going like this and going crazy. because you will splay the end. And if you do that, it's a new nozzle. And in the case of one of these, I think it's about 30 euros. So we're just going to put it in with the round bit on the bottom. So the round section on the bottom. Keeping an eye on where your flat bit is. And we're just going to move it till we get the needle just out the end. Not putting any pressure on any of this. And I want to back off a little bit and just start moving the nozzle over the needle so it rubs against that flat blade. So that's the bit that's... So the action on my finger is it's doing this on the inside. Scraping whatever's in there. Now there's not a lot of build up. We're just feeling for any soft areas in there. Seeing what dirt we can find. You can see this a couple of times. And always keep looking down the bottom in case you've pushed any muck. Now in mine, see there's a bit of muck in there now, it's no longer a circle. There's some muck in there. So what I'm going to do is get another pipe cleaner. It's dripping. Put it in. Now if you want to stop paint splattering everywhere, you can either put the tissue over the end or just anything that's porous, and then it'll absorb any of the muck. Might as well give the outside a bit of a clean while we're here. A little bit of blue coming through. So a fully white pipe cleaner that's graduated may be the best plan here. Just so you can see when there's no more colour coming through. But that's pretty clean. If I'm looking inside there, I can't see any muck. Pretty shiny. So we're going to say that's clean. I'll put that to one side. So we'll put it on the tissue paper. So any muck that is in there, or any liquid, can drain out. Let's grab our needle. And again, we're just going to spin it around looking for any areas of muck. Now we can see already there's some muck up here. So we can just polish that needle a bit. So again, this is a 0.4. They're quite sturdy 0.4 needles. I've banged this into tables a few times, not had to worry about it. There we go, we're about clean. Clean enough anyway. Again, if you spin it round, we'll see if there's any muck. Any muck up the top, or any oils are fine. It's this bottom section by the needle we need to worry about, by the point. I'm just going to dunk it in the airbrush cleaner bottle. Give it a shake around. Another bit of tissue. And then just clean it off. So we'll put this to one side in our clean pile. And now we're going to grab this section. More Q-tips, dip it in the airbrush cleaner. Make sure I actually get some cleaner on there. And the same as what we were doing before, but now it's got the liquid in there, it will clean it out. All we're going to do. I'm not going to worry about all the stuff on the outside, although if you wanted to, you could start rubbing at that. So go. I'm just looking inside there, see if there's any blue. Can't see any at the moment, but there is a step we're going to do to make sure that this is clean. It's something a lot of people forget. And there's a method. Like I said, if you've got an airbrush where you can take the front nozzle out easily, don't go pulling the needle out the back. Always take it out the front. Think of it like a human body. You don't want stuff going back out the mouth. You always want stuff coming out the bottom. Any of this blue now is just coming from the threads in here. Everything's fairly clean in there. Got a bit of a shiny shine. So what we need to do now is to look inside this hole. I turn this light up and turn this around where we'll see better. Let's have a go. Can we go brighter? Yeah, we can. Now there's a little bit of blue in there. That's because we haven't cleaned inside of this pipe. What we want to do is make sure that there's no blue come up inside here. So with the light this bright, I'm going to grab the needle that we've just cleaned. I'm going to turn it around now. Your needle might not have this crazy thing going on at the back, but mine does. So I'm going to push it back in from this side through the seal. Now inside there we want to watch for any blue coming out, and there already is a bit of blue coming out as I've started pushing. All that had made its way in there, even though we've been very careful. Just turn this light down in keeping this clean, keeping it angled down so nothing goes in there. It's just naturally in there. Now if we'd have let that just dry, then you just start getting poor action, clogs. So we're going to keep it angled down, get our clean thing in there. I'm going to go through again, more blue, find the way in, and then blue. Comes out fairly clean. Now there's a little bit come out the bottom, so we're going to go through again, but first we're just going to take the old wet pipe cleaner and we're just going to push it through a little end first, just a little bit, just so we can clean this bottom section of pipe. Make sure there's no muck there. Take the big end, just gently put it in. If it doesn't want to go in easily, don't push it in. It means the aperture is that small that you risk blocking everything. You don't want to block everything. I have broken off a pipe cleaner inside the Neo, in fact, that I showed you earlier. That was fun getting that out. So we're going to call that initial pipe entrance clean. Let's get our needle again, push it back through from the back, and we're going to look for more muck. Is there any muck coming out now? We know that it's inside this section, but I think we're good enough. And we're good enough. So that's fairly clean. We're going to take one more of these Q-tips, run it inside the bowl again, try and get inside. Oh look, there's some fluff in there from the pipe cleaner. In fact, there's a load of fluff in there from the pipe cleaner. It's okay though. It'll be clean. Now sometimes inside the airbrush you'll see there's like a, well, you can see there. See the shape? Just on this side here. I'm just going to dig inside there with the nozzle cleaner and just make sure there's no paint built up in there. If it feels soft, it means it's paint. And we can pull that out. No, feels clean. Feels clean. Right. So what are we left with? That's clean. Needle's clean. Nozzle's clean. Any other bits we're forgetting? Other than this monstrosity. Right. Best way to do this is we're going to take our tissue, we're just going to plug the end up, because it does get messy. Get away and hold on to it. Grab any of these. And just clean it as you would, push any of the old paint down in there. You don't need a clean one for this, just any that you've got laying around that are messy. Ew. I'm trying to scoop any of the big lumps of paint off. Same tissue. And we're more or less clean. Grab another one. There's a bit more paint in there. Let's take another Q-tip. And we'll just work at that side. It feels like it's not going anywhere, and if you use your airbrush for multiple types of paint, like if you use it for enamels and acrylics, you may be at a stage where you have some stubborn enamels. Now if you have enamels, using water is something you don't want to be doing. As soon as you start using water, it'll gum up and make a right old mess, and you'll have not a fun time. So you want to always use white spirit. And an airbrush that's clogged up with enamels is a lot easier to clean than one with acrylics. Enamels are a lot easier to clean as long as you've got your white spirit. We might demonstrate that on the Neo. We've nearly cleaned the inside of here now. Now I'm just going to go around this thread. That'll be okay. There will be a seal in there. If you want to do a full-on clean, oh, there's another side I missed. So if you want to do a full clean with an airbrush, you would just do the same thing on the outside. It'll just take a little bit longer. The next step we're going to do after this is we are going to oil some certain bits. Now I use, and I didn't show it at the start, I use a badger needle oil, or needle juice as they call it. You don't want anything silicone based with your oils, because then you just have a recipe for disaster. So make sure that any oil you use is not silicone based. Silicone in painting is bad, very bad. And if you do any sort of like acrylic pouring or anything, you want to make sure that your work area is absolutely spotless of any silicones. So you will have a bad time. Right, just dry this cup, and then we'll clean up the workspace a little bit, and then we'll get to assembly and oiling. and then checking whether we're working. So put that on there, throw all this away. That one's okay, that one. Right, let's bring the bits back in, put the lid on this before we make a mess. And now where's my needle oil gone? This is what I use. You don't need to use a lot of it. It's a tiny little bit. So, got all our bits. Let's change the view of the camera. Zoop. Mess everywhere. Where's our bits? So let's put the front end assembly back together first. So the nozzle housing is usually pretty clean. You never really need to clean it. You'll know if you do because things will get stuck as you start working on it. Put your nozzle inside and screw it up. There we go. Where are we? So we've got the hammer. Have a feel of the top. Some have a pattern on. This one, the flat end goes to the front, hammer at the back. I'm going to put a little bit of oil in here, just at that part there where it moves. So let's stick a little bit in there. And I'll put some on either side of this. Just a tiny bit though, because this goes into where the seal goes, and we don't want to get a lot of oil into that mechanism where the air is. Just push it in. That's where that goes. Next up, now this section here, this pushes against that block inside there, which pushes this back. And the spring and the nut. So when this goes in, we get action. Put a little bit of oil in there. Just tease that round. Push our needle through. When you push your needle through, it should feel smooth all the way till it stops. A little tiny bit of pressure. Like this is, my thumb's not moving anywhere. It's just dead weight. Needle nut on the back. Just check how it moves your needle out. Tighten it up by hand. There we go. End cap. Again, just hand tight. Cup. And that's pretty much an airbrush put back together. If you get paint down in the seal, don't panic. You can take this part off if you want. It does require, there's like a, you can see it there. You put a screwdriver in, take the seal out, and then this bit can come out and the whole assembly drops out and you can clean it. But that will only really happen if you start holding it upside down, pull your needle out the back and any paint in there glugs through the back. But generally, that is how you clean an airbrush. Let's have a quick look now at the Neo that I have kicking around here and have a look at the nozzle and why I don't recommend them. Same basic setup, exactly the same. Let's move that one out the way, move that over there, take this off. And there's a lot of muck inside here. There's actually a bit of plastic sprue in there as well. Lovely, solid. So this does move back, but you can see in there it's just death going on. We're looking the light. That's not too bad. Let's grab this. Let's see what we can find. Yeah, don't let your airbrush get this messy. This is enamel. Well, other than that coming out, it's now not too dirty. But again, we're not going to pull the needle out the back. There's any debris we don't want to pull back through here. Take that off. We need to open that. Let's grab a tool to do so. What shall we use? Tools here. We've got the worst needle nose pliers ever to exist. But I am just going to... You get a little tool when you get the airbrush. Just gently open it up. There we go. And this is why I don't like these. Look at that for your nozzle. Look at that nozzle. Really difficult to work with. Be very careful, because there is muck in here, so we've got to clean this. And this is the sort of nozzle which you don't want to let sit in a ultrasonic cleaner, because you see that orange seal? That's just rubber, and that will perish. This one actually has already perished, but I'm using it anyway. Barely in, but you see the muck that's coming out. It's a good example of how to do the needle reaming, if anything. Now we've obviously taken that out, we can move the needle through the end and just see what horrors await inside this airbrush. So this is enamel, this is no good. So in that case, we will get some waste white spirit, the old stuff. It's like how filthy it is, but it will do the job we need it to do. There's no point using a nice white spirit. Like I said, you will just get it filthy. Take our Q-tips. Easy to just decant this really into a small thing, but because we're being lazy, it will start cleaning as we were before. But now just using a different method. Before you know it, you'll get it clean. We're not going to do the whole thing. I'm just going to show you the difference, which is enamels. These enamels have been here literally months. I've just left it in there because I hate dealing with the tiny nozzle. It's my backup airbrush really. And then you get it fairly clean in there. Of course, if you spend more time, you will get it properly clean. But I want to show you something, which is with the ones with the tiny nozzle on. I didn't pick it up. With this, the aperture is tiny, absolutely tiny. So if you're going to get one of these, and you're going to try and get it through there, good luck. Not going to happen. In fact, it's just going to get stuck, and then it's going to snap. I had to pull a broken pipe cleaner out of there. So they're much more difficult to clean. Much more difficult. So I'm just not going to bother. Till I need to. The process is exactly the same though. I would use a needle reamer in there and just pull any muck I could find out. But we've been going quite a while. And I'm only going to hand tighten this. So, pull it back in. I'm going to clean this though. It might have been in there for a couple of months. Or a little bit of white spirit. Brings it clean. A little bit of muck on there. Dunk it back in for some more white spirits. Clean up. You can see we're more or less clean on the needle. A little bit of discoloration there. Give it a little bit more of a wipe. On the whole, that's clean. New needle. Alright, a little bit of darkness on the end, but compared to what it was like, a couple more minutes and we get that properly clean. Let's stick it back in. Pretend we've cleaned it. Push it through to the end. Put the nut on the back. Protect that bit on the end. And there we go. So airbrush cleaning is pretty easy. You've seen how to clean acrylics out of one. Let's not stab ourselves. Always put the point away. And then we have an interior cleaned airbrush. When you've cleaned it, run some liquid water through it, just to make sure everything's nice and clean. It'll get rid of any solvent that may still be in there that may dry. But on the whole, that's how to clean an airbrush. Just remember, if you're going to lubricate, don't put too much in here, just a little bit, just so you've got action. Again, on this section behind here, a little in here, just so you have action through there, and you'd be fine. Remember, a little bit's always better than a lot. Okay, see you on the next video.